Hello and welcome to Fair Deal. I'm Harry.
I'm Dan.
And in today's video, we're going to be having a look at the Blackstar St 100-watt combo.
Before we get into the video, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe and turn on bell notifications to keep updated as to when we post.
Before we have a look at what this amp can do, let's tell you about what guitars we're using. We've gone for a broad spectrum of guitars that hopefully encapsulate all of the tones that guitarists look for. I'm using a Fender Ultra 2 Strat and the Yamaha Revstar, while Dan...
I am using a Gibson ES137.
So let's have a look at the front panel. As you can see, there are 4 channels available to us between clean, crunch and 2 overdrive channels split across 2 EQs. Let's have a look at the clean and the crunch controls first. As we can see, they have a volume and a gain control each, going over to the EQ, bass, middle, treble, a presence control and over to the master control. And then after that we move on to the overdrive 1 and 2 channels, exactly the same, gain and volume, EQ, bass, middle, treble, reverb and presence, and then routing finally into the master where it all comes together. After the master control, we have the dynamic power reduction, which enables you to retain the quality of that tone, but at a slightly more room appropriate volume. Correct?
Correct.
Correct. From that, you can access all of these channels and abilities to change therein through the foot control, which gives you clean, crunch, overdrive 1 and overdrive 2, with the ability to press crunch and overdrive 2 to access the kind of boost or tight functionality within there as well. Also, towards the end, you have the solo control, which adds a 2 to 6 dB increase to your signal, and also it allows you to be able to turn the reverb on and off.
As you can see, the amp has 4 channels, but the versatility doesn't stop there, because it also has variable power tubes. Starting off, when you flick the switch up, you have 2 EL34s. When you flick the switch down, you have 2 6L6s, and when you put the switch in the middle, you have all 4 of them. The 6L6s are a bit quieter than the EL34s, but that is just a characteristic of those tubes. They are naturally quieter than EL34s, but it's something you only tend to notice on an overdrive channel, more or less.
So what we can establish from looking at the front panel, there is an incredible amount of versatility to come from just this one amp. Now let's look at the back panel to see what else we can find there. So as we can see, looking at the back panel, we have a USB control, MIDI in and through, a foot switch control, the variable solo boost control, the effects loop, which can run in series and parallel, CabRig, and a cut control, which allows you to cut in or out the high resonances that a lot of amps give you. There are 2 things about the back panel specifically that we'd like to highlight for you. The first thing that we're going to show is the foot switch control. You can see that there is a jack and an XLR input. Whilst it might be tempting to just use a jack, it is best that you use the XLR output along with the dedicated foot switch that comes with this amp, as this allows you to access all 4 channels and the 2 additional functionality aspects out of that as well. Also the solo control and the reverb. And speaking of solo, the other aspect that we want to look at is the variable solo control. Dan.
Next to the 2 foot switch inputs, there is a variable potentiometer for the solo section. It is anywhere between 2 decibels and 6 decibels, which is a very big sweep and is more than enough to be heard over a band in a mix.
If that level of versatility still isn't enough for you, what we can look at now is CabRig. As you can see on the back of the panel is the CabRig control, which has a switch on it accessing 3 presets. Next to the switch is a jack and an XLR input. CabRig is accessed by these outputs and is not heard coming out of the speakers in front of the amp. So what you can do is take an XLR cable from the amp and plug it straight into a mixer, or in our case an audio interface. The switch will access 3 presets within CabRig. CabRig allows you to control what cabinet you're simulating, microphone, and also the on or off access position of that. Now you might think only 3 is quite limiting, but combining it with a laptop and a piece of software called Architect, you can uncover an insane amount of combinations of this. Let's take a look at that now. So as you can see here in Architect, you have an incredible amount of cabinets and microphones to choose from, whether that's on or off access. You can save as many presets as you want within your laptop, but you can also save 3 of those presets within the amp itself, so you can customize what those presets are. So you might not like what comes in the amp, but that is something that you can change entirely. So in the live situation, you can rock up to your gig, give the sound engineer an XLR cable and just go straight into the desk, knowing every time that when you're plugged in, you have the exact same sound that you want, with no worries about where the mic is physically on the amp, as you don't need that. You can have the amp on standby for the entire performance and still get that perfect sound that you've dialed in every single time. It is worth highlighting especially that this only comes out of a laptop or out of that XLR input.
So now we're going to go through some demos of the amp. We're going to go over all 4 channels as well as the boost and tight switch. Harry is going to be playing the 6L6s and I am going to be playing the EL34s.
So that was our look at the Blackstar St James 100-watt combo. As you can see, hopefully that we've communicated to you, it's an incredibly versatile amp, from a really sweet clean right up to a massive overdrive tone. Blackstar are quite well known for adding incredible amounts of versatility and cleverness into their amps, and you can really see that demonstrated within this amp, linking it up with all those 4 channels, CabRig, and the ability to control what those CabRig presets are in Architect. It's an incredibly versatile amp, and it is really suited to pretty much any guitarist looking for any sort of sound that they can really think of and get the sound that they've got in their head right out into their performance.
So let us know what you thought of the amp in the comments below. There is a link in the description to this amp, and please like the video if you did like it, share it around between your friends, subscribe, and turn on those bell notifications to keep updated of when we post.
I've been Harry.
I've been Dan.
And thanks for watching.